Hi, I'm Mark Hockman from PC World, and we're here at the Surface launch looking at the revolutionary Surface Pro X. So the question you're probably asking yourself, if you've heard of the Surface Pro X, what makes it better or worse than the Surface Pro 7? The Surface Pro 7 you're probably familiar with. It's a pretty standard design. It's remained constant through several generations. The Surface Pro X is something different. Not only different under the hood, but also different in the physical form factor as well. And this is what really sets it apart. Let's go ahead and take a look. So on the surface, no pun intended, it looks like a pretty ordinary tablet. But look at what happens when you pull the keyboard out. You get a pen tray. This is the new Surface Pen, 4,096 points of pressure. But what makes it interesting is the fact that it not only hides in this cubby, but charges in it as well. So if you pull out the pen, two things happen. One, you get the whiteboard app popping up as well as the option for a full screen snip. That's something that sort of allows you to jump right into collaboration. If you put the pen back in the holder, of course, it starts to charge. And if you fold up the top of the keyboard like this, bingo, you've got a pen repository. If you've been following the Surface line, you know that Microsoft's wrestled with this for generations. The Surface Pro 3 had a pen loop, everything else didn't. It magnetically connected the pen to the side of the chassis, and that was really resulted, at least from my bag, I ended up with pens in the bottom of my bag and not where they should be using. That was a poor solution. So let's look at else what we've got here. On the side of the chassis, we've got the traditional power button, of course. We've got a Surface connector, which is both good. Microsoft said they engineered this to make sure it was usable with the existing Surface connector and the Surface dock. If you go over on this side of the tablet, you get something a little bit more modern. It's a pair of USB-C ports. These aren't Thunderbolt. They will serve supposedly to run a 4K display. But again, the fact of the matter is that the world is shifting to USB-C, and Microsoft really needed to add this. It should be pointed out that the Surface Pro 7 also has a single USB-C port, but if you're looking for a more advanced design, this is what you're looking for. What really sets this apart, though, of course, is the internals. And this has a custom-designed SQ1 chip inside of it. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this being a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8CX chip. That in fact is what is in here. The 8CX chip, as you may know, is something that Qualcomm has touted as being comparable to a Core i5. That Core i5 is in fact a Whiskey Lake processor, which is slightly behind the Surface Pro 7. The Surface Pro 7 version is a 10th gen Ice Lake processor, which in fact leans pretty heavily on the graphics. And if you watch our Surface Pro 7 video, you'll learn a little bit more about that. But as far as this is concerned, this in fact is an upclocked 8CX chip. Microsoft said it worked closely with Qualcomm to make sure the performance was even more powerful than before. And if you've been following sort of the history of Qualcomm in the PC, you should know, of course, that performance has been one of the issues that Qualcomm has somewhat struggled with. There's been issues of compatibility, in just conjunction with the Windows operating system, but just running those apps more powerfully enough to make them usable and without lag has been something they, again, have struggled with. What you'll find here on this machine, in our demonstration area, is the fact that Microsoft is using sort of optimized apps. You see Edge, you see sort of the Edgium Beta, this is sort of the Chromium-based Edge. You're not seeing Chrome, you're not seeing some of these other more performant apps. They want to sort of maximize the experience. So that's fine, let's go ahead, just give them the best opportunity they can. Trackpad and the keyboard is essentially the same as the Surface Pro 7. You've got really nothing too different as far as the keyboard or the keys are concerned. There's one other thing that we should probably note about this. One of Qualcomm's strengths not only is battery life, but is connectivity. Of course, if you have a Snapdragon-based phone, you're connected, right? This offers the same sort of thing. I don't see any SIM card slot here, but Microsoft did tell us that in fact there is, I guess, going to be an option for a physical SIM. There's going to be an eSIM option as well. Again, the point being that we should have an always connected PC, and the Surface Pro X is what is going to provide that. The question you're going to ask right now is, what should I buy? We were told that the Surface Pro X is in fact the most powerful Surface Pro device they've made. Again, I'm a little skeptical of that fact. I think we're going to have to see performance estimates to find that out. But these are in fact sort of two different machines doing two different machines. Surface Pro X, all-day battery life. Moderate to great performance. We're not quite sure on the performance standpoint. Surface Pro 7 probably leans a lot more heavily on the graphics. Also pretty good performance as well. There's one other thing that we should talk about though, and that is the price. This in fact is a $999 machine. The Surface Pro 7 actually starts life at $799. It's hard to say exactly if this in fact is going to be a more powerful, more expensive machine. There's going to be different configurations, of course. This is, and we can just figure this out right now, this actually has 16 gigs of memory in it, which is pretty good. We have, I think, probably either 256 or 512 gigs of storage, which would probably be comparable, 256 gigs of storage, probably comparable to the Surface Pro 7. So again, all-day battery life, connectivity, Surface Pro 7, a little bit more in the traditional form factor and performance as well. The nice thing is though, that you have a choice between the two. And until we get them in the labs, we really can't say for certain which to buy. But again, choice is good, choice is great, and really we're talking about something new being added to the Surface line. So that's it for the Surface Pro X. Stay tuned for more from the Surface launch, as well as from PCWorld.com. Thank you.